take a moment to think about where fear of judgment has stopped you. Has it stopped you from finishing that book? Has it stopped you from speaking in front of live audiences? Has it stopped you from recording videos? Has it stopped you from growing your business? Fear of judgment stops so many people. Where would you be right now if fear of judgment had never stopped you? Where could you go from this point forward if fear of judgment never got in your way again? I'm going to talk to you today about ways to not let that fear of judgment stop you. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dada Groover. I am an award-winning author and speaker, and I am also the founder of the Awakened School. And in that Awakened School, we help people become amazing speakers and writers and world changers. That is what we do. Fear of judgment is what stops most people from doing that big thing or those big things that they really want to do with their life. Have you ever thought about writing a book? Have you wanted to write a book? Have you wanted to speak in front of an audience? Have you had an art project maybe that you wanted to put out into the world? Or have you had some message that you really want to share with people? Now I can ask you, what stopped you from doing that? What stopped you from finishing that book or publishing that book or getting your art project out? It might be that you procrastinated, or it might be you had other priorities, but there's a good chance, a really good chance, that what stopped you from getting that project out there was the fear of judgment. That is what stops most people from doing big things in the world, from realizing their dreams, from getting what they want or giving what they want to others. And I bring that up because it is so important to know that we can get beyond that fear of judgment. Maybe not 100%, but enough past it so that we can do what we want to do in the world. One of the biggest problems around fear of judgment is that a lot of times we don't even realize that's what's going on. We make some other excuse. I don't have time. I have other priorities. So many things that we can come up with. And it's important to realize, yes, I do have fear of judgment. I have fear of judgment. I do. I write. I've spoken in front of thousands of people. And yes, there's some fear of judgment there, but not enough to let it stop me. I'm going to share with you what I've learned about fear of judgment and how I don't let it stop me. First thing that we have to all understand, I believe, is that there are 3 triggers that all human beings are affected by, and they affect this fear of judgment. First of all, we all want to be liked. Every single one of us wants to be liked. And that is something that will never go away. And people that say, I don't care if people like me or not, they're usually not being honest with themselves, in my opinion. And the other 2 are, we want to be seen as competent and or significant. So a lot of times people won't shoot videos, they won't speak in front of people, they won't write because, there's going to be someone out there that might criticize that. And there's a good chance that they actually will. And if we're letting that fear of being criticized as being seen as incompetent, or even worse, insignificant, then we may not do whatever it is that we actually want to do. Writing is a perfect example of this. I've seen so many people who have written a book and yet they don't want to publish it. They don't want to put it out there for the public. I'll get around to it someday, but they don't. They don't do because of this. And then the third thing is that we all want to be included. So I've always considered myself a rebel, and I know a lot of you are also, and I think that's awesome. I think, rebels make a lot of positive difference in the world, and we tend to upset the status quo, and I think that's good and fine. And we like to identify as, well, yes, I'm a rebel, right? I have some pride when I say that I'm a rebel, and, I'm part of the group of rebels. Or I'm part of what I'm rebelling against, whatever that is, in a higher sense. But you never get away from that principle of wanting to be included, right? So we want to be liked, we want to be seen as competent and or significant, and we want to be included. So when we're judged, those things are threatened. If people judge us, that means they don't like us. That's what the brain tells us. They don't like us, and they may convince other people to not like us or to see us as competent or to include us. And it wasn't that long ago in human history where not being included meant death. It was a death sentence. You had to be included in the town, in the guild, and whatever it was for survival. Same thing if people didn't like you or didn't see you as competent, you could wind up dead, right? It wasn't that long ago in our history, a few hundred years ago. It was very much like that. And then you go back farther, it was even more like that. And I think those things stay with us. So that's the first thing to understand, is where those fears come from and where those concerns, those inner concerns, come from. If we know what is causing those things, then we have a much better chance of getting freed from them. As I mentioned before, the awareness of the source of the fears is really good. Like I was saying, to understand that these wanting to be liked, wanting to be included, wanting to be seen as competent or significant, they always act on us, in my belief. They will always act on us, but we don't have to let those things control us. Similarly, if you look at the fear judgment itself and understand, people will judge me. They will judge me. I can tell you something honestly, that if you are not okay with being judged, you will never make a difference. You will never make a difference in the world. You will never make a difference in other people's lives. All the people in history, all the men and women who made a difference, they were not afraid to be judged, or they were not afraid enough of being judged to let it stop them. So what I suggest is see it as a trade-off. If I do this big thing, some people will judge me. If you can be okay with that, even if it's still scary, then you will be able to make a difference in the world. You'll be able to accomplish what you're dreaming about doing. People that have gone forward, even in the artistic world, Steven Spielberg. I mean, in my opinion, it's funny, I just came up with that, popped into my head, because some of his movies I think are genius and some are not, in my opinion. But he is fearless in terms of doing something that people might judge him for. When he came up with E.T., right? When he created E.T., if he thought some people won't like this and it'll be a such and such a movie and so on, then never, ever would have happened if he had let fear stop him. If he talked about, Saving Private Ryan. People have done war movies before. Schindler's List, which is, the hero is a German, right? In World War II. Awesome movies, by the way. Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. The best war movies I've ever seen, in my opinion. That's just me. But what I feel is there's a certain fearlessness. Same thing with Aaron Sorkin. He's another one of my heroes. He wrote A Few Good Men. He was the original writer on The West Wing before networks took it over from him. And he did The Social Network recently. Brilliant movie about Facebook. He did that movie about Steve Jobs. There's been a few movies about him. But anyway, in all those works, I really get the fearlessness of some people are going to judge me for this, and I don't care. So it sounds like kind of a simple answer, to not care. But I would say, accept the reality. If you do something big, people will judge you. People will judge you. And look at the trade-off. And this is what I believe is the biggest nugget here. The trade-off is that if you do something big, people will judge you, but you will change lives. If you tell the truth, you speak from your soul, you write from your soul, you give it your best, and judgment will come, judgment will be there, but you will change lives. You will change lives. So if you see that as a trade-off, this is a little bit scary, but I know this is going to make a difference, and I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to take some judgment, but I'm going to make a bigger difference if I do. So that's my little piece for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for tuning in today. And please do click that subscribe button, ring that little bell. I would love for you to know when we have videos coming out, which is my plan, doing that every week, 12 o'clock noon on Wednesdays, U.S. Mountain Time. Thanks again for tuning in.